What did Mickey say?
Should be in here just like a couple seconds. Okay, just know when I hit the unmute that this is live over our social and is Facebook now. So everyone remember that.
I don't care. They probably just want to start firing away at me. Okay.
All right, we'll get started with today's press conference. We'll just go straight into questions, and we'll go to Don Williams first.
Any bodies there, would Xavier White get some snaps at inside receiver?
Who at the end, Don? I lost you at the end.
I said if you are short at H inside receiver, would Xavier White play some snaps there or get some practice time there this week?
Yeah. No, it would probably be Caden Leggett. Caden's been practicing there the last few weeks. Xavier would still, certainly he could. It'd be an easy transition for Xavier, but right now he's going to stay at running back. We'll see about Keyshawn later today. I anticipate Rigdon and Miles being all good to go. And, again, on McLean, we'll see. Really probably know more about McLean by the middle of the week, Don, tomorrow and Wednesday.
Looks like the key for West Virginia, the improvement that they've had in their running game this year with Lady Brown. It look like those guys are doing well to open up the running game.
Well, he's a patient runner, Don. He's really patient. They do a lot of zone schemes with him. He's he's a powerful back. When he just kind of is patient, and then when he hits it, he goes. The O-line, I think, has gotten better as the year has gone on for them. But man, he's played well. He certainly had a great game against Kansas on Saturday, and he's one of the better backs in this league.
Go to Eric Kelly.
What stands out to you about that West Virginia defensive line, specifically? Obviously, Darius still gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, and he should. I remember last year, both brothers really standing out to us, and he is he's a great player. I mean, what a pick that he made Saturday. That's called breaking the stack. That's what we call breaking the stack when those O linemen and D linemen break when the ball's thrown. That was a tremendous effort play. But those guys are playing with a motor. 9 has played very, very well. 90, how about 90? 90 came in and got a couple sacks. I think he had 6 tackles and a few TFLs. He's impressive. 50, who's the outside backer, the B linebacker. That guy's, man, he loves to play the game. That guy plays with the high motor and high effort. A lot of respect for the way that D-line has played for them so far this year.
You guys were the first ones to really get a good look at Jared Dagey last year. Where has he made that biggest improvement from the first time you saw him in Morgantown to now?
Well, we didn't see much that game, and so he's got a lot of game time under his belt. He's steady. He's stingy with the ball. His touchdown to interception ratio is good. He's accurate, can throw it on the move. Again, another quarterback that I think, when he scrambles out, he's got the ability to hurt you a little bit, but he's been steady. Neil, those guys on offense have done a really good job with him, and he's, I think he's steady for them, and he's proven to be a winner. I mean, he's 3-1 right now, and he's done a nice job.
And then, obviously, anytime you make a quarterback change, a lot of the attention goes to who's going to be the starter. But how has Allen kind of handled the whole situation?
Fine.
Because
Yeah, he's handled it good. He's a good teammate. He's been good at practice last week. He was good in the building this morning. I don't expect anything different from Allen. He's a great young man. He'll support, and he'll be ready when called upon, whenever that is.
We'll go to David Collier.
There we go. Hey, Coach. The Don Williams moment, sorry. You talked about their defense a little bit a moment ago. I know they changed defensive coordinators. A lot of guys on the staff are working together doing that. Have they changed anything defensively? Is that part of their success, or is it just the carryover?
Not much. I think there's a lot of carryover. I think they're just getting lined up. They play with tremendous effort. It seems to me that maybe they've even simplified it some, but I think a lot of carryover. They've got some experienced players. Then you add in a guy like Tony Fields, who's a high-end talent as a grad transfer from Arizona. That's a great addition to that defense, but they've got big corners that are playing physical. The safeties can all run. And then I've already mentioned, 50. I think he makes them pretty dynamic. And then you keep adding, you add 90 and 9 in there. And then the Stills brothers, that's a good front. That's a really good D-line.
And to Henry, what's the week of practice been like with him? And have you noticed anything different offensively for you guys? I mean, I know it's hard going against your own guys, but it seemed like the offense seems to be moving smoothly.
Yeah, just a couple of days of practice really on Wednesday and Thursday mainly for Henry, but 2 good days, and I thought the offense clicked pretty good with him. But, we need to have a good practice today and then throughout this week. And, his job is to play well and to distribute the ball and get through his progressions, and the other guys, need to play well around him. It's also part of the quarterback's job is to kind of inspire and raise the level of those guys around you. And so they do need to respond to him for us to play better on offense.
Go to Ronald Clark.
We talked about Allen and how he responded to it, but what was that conversation like with Henry when you told him that he was going to start this week?
Pretty quick. I mean, he was excited, pretty level-headed though. I mean, but certainly excited and happy. Fairly quick conversation.
Henry's obviously going to start, but, in a lot of types of offenses in college, we've seen, people roll out 2 quarterbacks. Is there a chance that we see Allen in specific sets or anything like that?
No, that's not the plan right now, but I would never rule anything out, Ronald.
Go to Jarrett Johnson.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Jarrett?
Good. Hey, you mentioned last week that y'all were going to spend the bye week kind of self-evaluating. What was some of your main takeaways? Of course, without giving away too much, but what was some of your main takeaways from what y'all saw on film?
Well, I think, what you do is you find things on both sides of the ball, really special teams as well. I should never leave them out. We critiqued ourselves pretty good there because I don't think we've achieved the things that we've wanted to achieve in special teams. We need to find a way that's the reason that we're winning games instead of sometimes been the reason we've lost a game. In fact, a couple games you could probably point at. But on mainly the offensive side and the defensive side, it's what have you done well and how do you continue to do it? And when I say how do you continue to do it, oftentimes it's the same stuff, but maybe it's a different presentation or a different formation or a different way to disguise it. And then in terms of the things that you're struggling at, which are the things that you're going to keep and improve on, and which are the things that you're going to maybe put on the shelf and, push to the side and do away with for right now. Doesn't mean it's not good schemes, but maybe we don't do it well, or maybe we need to do it with a different player or sets of players. And so, you're always evaluating that. When we go to 5 DBs, how well are we playing on defense? When we go to 4 down linemen, how are we playing? Red zone certainly has not been, up to our standards on either side of the ball. So critiquing what we're doing in terms of the red zone, and maybe even sometimes, Jarrett, what are teams doing against us, and is there a pattern? And so sometimes that's hard to see when you're in, you're just kind of in the game to game or week to week, and well, we struggled in the red zone, and if we did it again, is there a commonality or a theme of what other teams are doing to us? And I know that's generally what we did, without getting into the exact specifics, but I think you do that. And then it's also, what do we do on offense? How are we calling it? How are we calling things on defense? Are we in any kind of pattern? And sometimes there's good things to a pattern. I'm also a believer in that, in what you do, and you do it well, even if other people know that you're doing it. You need to stay doing that, and maybe find a little bit of a different way to do it. I don't think having a bye week and having all this time, I think sometimes can be a detriment, coming up with a lot of new stuff. So I think you got to guard against that too as coaches.
And then as far as up front on the offensive line, there's some really good statistics that suggest the offensive line has played really well so far this year. But then, of course, there were some struggles against Kansas State and Iowa State. What's your evaluation on the way the offensive line has played so far?
Oh, I would say pretty good in some ways. I mean, we certainly struggled to run the ball against Iowa State. I think, we had some pressure, a decent amount of pressure against, both Iowa State and Kansas State. Now, when you look at some of the stats, we haven't given up sacks. There's a reason for that. I think our quarterbacks have done a pretty good job of getting rid of the ball, albeit at times too quick. So I think sometimes, I think bottom line is this, Jarrett. There's times that we've played well at quarterback. There's times we've played well at O-line, and the O-line is in the run game and the passing game. But it's still overall. It's still overall as an offense. I don't think it's where we've wanted to be through 4 games, and so every one of us own it, from coaches to each position. And so I'm not going to single a group. I don't know if there's a group you can single out that said they have played outstanding, but I think at times we've certainly played good. Offense is also rhythm. How do we all get to playing well or at a high level, never perfect, together for a stretch of time here? And that's certainly what we hopefully we can do as we begin this next stretch. But I think there's things that suggest with the offensive line, Jarrett, that suggest at times they've played pretty well.
Go to Shihan.
Hey, Coach. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, obviously, making a quarterback change is never easy. What kind of went into that decision? And also on top of that, how did you kind of tell Henry to come here? What was that recruiting process like? And why did you feel like you needed to add another grad transfer quarterback?
Well, I think, same as I said last week in terms of making the quarterback change. And when you've kind of played, and I just kind of referenced this in Jarrett's question, at times not as explosive as we need to play on offense, and we had just played, I thought, good or okay at quarterback, and I felt the change to Henry, gives us a better opportunity to maybe right now at this time play better on offense, and that's how we evaluated it. Allen, again, it's not his fault. He's not the one to blame. Certainly, that's never the case, and it's not the case here. And so I don't want that to be the narrative. That's not. It's a matter of Henry. When he's got in, he's played well, and he's moved us. We need to continue to stay aggressive at the quarterback position and get through our progressions. Second part of that question is, when he entered the transfer portal, we were always kind of looking really for another quarterback. And so you've got two, Allen and Maverick. Maverick had yet to be in a game. So the two being Maverick and Donovan Smith at the time, being a redshirt freshman and a true freshman, neither one of them playing in a college game. We had looked for a guy, really nothing ever just really presented itself over the spring and the early part of the summer in terms of a guy that maybe is a little older that we had a chance to bring in. And Henry presented that when that came up. And I think obviously the added experience with Coach Yost in our offense, that's kind of no-brainer at that point.
It's obviously one thing to sort of come in and provide a spark like Henry's been able to do. What's different when planning to kind of build a sort of sustainable offense versus coming in and doing some nice things?
Can you repeat the question, Sheehan?
For a quarterback, obviously, he's been able to come in and provide a spark and do some nice things when he's coming to the game. But what do you think he needs to do, I guess is the better way to phrase it, to sort of take that and make it sort of a sustainable offense versus some nice stuff off the bench?
Well, certainly that's the key now for Henry as he becomes the starter, is the consistency, drive after drive, the ability to sustain success, sustain being aggressive and moving the ball down the field. If we have a drive that doesn't end up the way we want it with the score or whatever, the ability to bounce back and I think again it's the adjustments series to series, which he certainly had to do a few times, but when you put 13, 14 series a game, 7.5 usually together, then the ability to make an in-game adjustment, take what Coach Yost is coaching him on the headset in between series and move it to the next series and continue to play at a high level. I think that's the key for any quarterback, but certainly a guy in his first start to do that.
Go to Ryan King.
Hey, Coach. I know I'm asking you to choose here, but West Virginia has the number one rushing defense and number one passing defense in the conference. For you guys, with where the running game's been at, switching to a new quarterback on offense, which one are you more ready and excited to see against that West Virginia defense?
Well, unfortunately, I don't get to make that choice because that choice isn't presented. They're number one in both categories after 4 games, and certainly well deserved. So you can tell it'll be a tremendous challenge for our offensive staff as well as our offensive players.
Now, specifically about the run game, I know you've been asked some about that. Where do you think the biggest growth needs to be in this run game to really open up the offense?
Getting our O linemen to second level. We got to get off the first level and get up to second level defenders, and that's where 2 or 3 yard gains become 7 or 8. And then when you get them into the secondary, can you make the safety miss or the extra defender?
We'll go back to Eric Kelly.
Talked about them kind of more when they came in, but guys like Colin and Tyree who came in, with a week or two of preparation, now they've had kind of a month or so under their belt. What are the biggest steps forward, or how many steps forward have you seen both of them?
Yeah, I think they've made it, Eric, in 2 ways. Really, the knowledge of our system, really going from 0 to the whatever their point they're at now, and I think they'll continue to get better, with the knowledge. And I think with knowledge, with increased knowledge, you're able to play faster and not as hesitant. And then I think the second thing is just their sheer conditioning, because they were by themselves, not working out with a strength coach and teammates, and that makes a difference over the spring and the summer. So I think their level of conditioning has greatly improved.
Go back to Jarrett Johnson, then to Don to wrap up.
Hey, Coach, I know you're probably tired of being asked about quarterbacks at this point, but Maverick was mentioned. I'm just curious what his progression has been. I know he's probably not getting as many reps as the other guys, but how has he looked so far?
Well, Jarrett, coming out of training camp and albeit, a different type of training camp with the COVID and everything, he was 3 coming out. That's where, he had earned that to that spot, and Henry had really beaten him out just in terms of that. But Mav's had a great attitude, a great young man, continues to practice hard. But as you know, in season, it's just hard to get you don't have competitions in season. You know, you give guys opportunities because they've earned them in practice up until this point, and that's where Henry had earned that, which is why he went in against Kansas State and then Iowa State. And so, you know, it's difficult to have quote unquote a competition in season because of those limited reps, and you know, when you are trying to get two quarterbacks ready, you know, the reps need to go to those top two guys.
We'll finish up with Don.
Staying on quarterbacks, I guess, for a moment, since we're talking about quarterbacks. Last week you mentioned Donovan Smith has shoulder surgery. Is that on his throwing or non-throwing shoulder?
Throwing shoulder.
Throwing. To what extent then is that a concern for a quarterback with it?
Yeah, I'm not concerned. Dr. Crawford's a great doctor. I got tremendous confidence in all of our docs, but you know, Drew Kruger and Dave Scholes in terms of the rehab, I got tremendous confidence in those guys. Don, we won't know until the spring. I mean, that's, you know, but the kid's working his tail off. He's a good athlete, and you know, I think he'll come back strong. But there's been several cases I know we've been told that, so I'm not worried about it right now.
Since quarterbacks don't get hit in practice, how did that happen?
I'm just going to leave that undisclosed.
Okay. A few minutes ago on the conference call, you mentioned you were talking about your message to the defense involved, you know, getting lined up.
Yeah.
And then playing with energy and all that, and all the other stuff. Obviously, Big 12 defenses can have some issues getting lined up because the Big 12 offense is playing at tempo. What else has led to having issues with getting lined up for you to bring that up?
Well, a few is just too many. So I don't think we had more than a few against Iowa State, but a few is way too many. We got to get the call from the sideline. We've got to get it communicated to whoever we need to communicate it to. At times there's calls that need to go from the safeties to the corners or the linebackers to the D-line. Whether, you know, it's all of that combined. Sometimes you put pace into it. Now, we certainly see pace and defend pace offense quite a bit here at practice every day. So, you know, you would think that doesn't catch you. But teams that don't do it all the time, like Iowa State in particular, and they sprinkle it in, it does catch you, and that's the advantage of doing that. And I've been a part of offenses that have done that, and I think it's certainly an advantage when you can do that. So a few, don't read into it more than that. A few is too many for us. We need to get aligned. We need to get in a great stance and then read our keys, and then we need to run to the football. On the flip side, I think that's something that you see West Virginia doing a really nice job of right now, is running to the football and the effort and the energy showing up in a big way for them.
All right, that'll do it for Coach. We'll have Eric Monroe in here in just a few minutes.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
What's up? How you doing? I'm good, man.
All right, you're on mute right now. We will unmute you here in a second. We're going to start with the guy in the left-hand corner, Eric Kelly. All right, we'll start with questions for Eric, and Appropriately, we will start with Eric Kelly. Eric and Eric.
Eric, Coach mentioned late last week that the secondary has done a much better job of not letting passes or receivers get behind them. Where does that stem from? Is that a communication thing, or is that just schematically kind of remembering where everyone's supposed to be?
It's kind of communication. That's what we, dial on every week when we go to these games. No vertical shots, no cheap shots. So that's what we, strive for every day in practice, to not give up those deep shots.
And then for you, where's the biggest area that you think the defense has improved over this second bye week?
Oh man, just coming together and playing for one another, and just having each other's backs, man. Rely on everybody to to do their job. So.
Do you have any other questions?
I'll just ask another one. Eric, coming in as a grad transfer guy, there have been other transfers who have come in kind of right before the season. What is the biggest area where you think you've taken steps forward from maybe the day you came here to now, and how difficult is it to kind of get up to pace pretty quickly?
Oh man, just coming in and competing. Those guys they've been working out with each other, and me just coming in. Fall camp was a big difference. But every day those guys lift me up and make me comfortable with the schemes, and just take from there.
And you were around a pretty good quarterback last year. He's not on your side of the ball, but you go up against him in practice. What impresses you, and what traits stand out to you about Henry Coulombe?
Oh man, he go to his reads and progression like crazy, man. I want to pick him off in practice, so that's so we just he a competitor. We are a competitor, but we come to work every day, just to get better, and he's a great quarterback.
Go to Ryan King.
Hey Eric, so for you guys, obviously you haven't had the output you wanted as a defense yet, specifically I guess as a passing defense for you, the defensive backs. What is it about the West Virginia offense that you feel like you guys match up well, and you could have that first breakout game that gets you guys rolling as a passing defense?
Oh man, they offense is great, man. They move the ball well. They have great receivers, running backs. They have it all. One thing, just playing sound defense. We want together. Just not giving up, cheap shots. And
yeah, how much of that is a bend don't break mentality, where you're hoping they don't get those big chunk plays? Just as far as that, you've heard coaches talk about in the past. Even Coach Patterson, he wants to get them to as many plays as possible that maybe they'll make a mistake or something. Is that something you guys focus on in a matchup like this, or how does that factor in?
yes, sir. We Coach Patterson do a great job, scheming. We don't want to give up those, cheap shots. We want them to earn a lot, So they give them more chances, takeaways, from that.
Go to Carlos Silva.
Eric, I know this is another bye week, but I guess is there a difference from maybe watching a live game compared to normal game tape? Do you guys do anything different on those type of deals to where you're able to watch a team live on a Saturday compared to maybe just kind of watching tape?
Oh yes, sir. It is different. We're not in a film room, with one another. So just seeing those games live is different. So.
So I guess in terms of what did you see from West Virginia, and what did they do very well?
Oh man, they move the ball very well. The quarterback go in and out his reads, quick. They have a great running back, I think he's like second in the league right now in rushing. But no, they're a great team, man. They play great ball.
Go to Jarrett Johnson.
Hey, Eric, y'all had kind of a tough stretch, and obviously with the last three games. But you mentioned y'all having each other's back. Just what's kind of been the message between you players? We hear from the coaches. But what are you guys, some of the team leaders, saying in order to stay together?
Oh man, things gonna happen on the football field. We just can't fold. We have to come together. And once you do that, man, everything else, settles in and get those guys comfortable with playing.
We've seen so far this year some of the SEC offenses really tearing it up more than in usual years past. What has it been like for you going against Big 12 offenses as opposed to SEC offenses?
Oh man, a lot of tempo, man. A lot of tempos. You have to get the call to get lined up pretty fast. So that's really the big difference of the two, just tempo offense.
Go back to Ryan King.
Hey, Eric, you kind of mentioned there with you've already faced Deuce Vaughn and Brees Hall, two of the best running backs. Now, Letty Brown this week. Do you see similarities there? Or is he totally different? Where could is that a matchup for you guys? Because it seems like every time you turn on West Virginia, he's doing something. So where does he compare to the guys you've already faced?
Oh man, he's a great back, man. Like I said, he's the second leader back in the country, so in the league, in our league. So he's a great player, man. His vision is totally phenomenal. The way he kicks the ball out the backfield is like another wide receiver, and that's a bad matchup for defenses when your running back can catch the ball out the backfield like that. So and like I said, he's a great guy. He's patient, when he's running the ball. So his vision is phenomenal.
We'll go to Phil Mayer.
Eric, we know changing quarterbacks can provide a spark to the offense. Does that carry over to the defensive side of the ball too, or is it you're not really paying attention to the personnel?
Oh man, really not paying. We just playing ball. Do what we do and let the offense do what they do. And we are a family, so we have each other backs, offense and defense. So when the offense not doing well, the defense can come pick it up and vice versa.
All right, unless we have any other questions for Eric, we're gonna let him go and we'll go to Henry. All right, thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Hey, Henry. So here's a prep of what you're probably a bunch of questions Coach got.
Yeah.
You're good. Thank you.
Appreciate
You're good. Don't worry, we don't have to do TV.
Oh, you don't?
No, we're good. Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Good job, Eric.
Jump straight into questions for Henry. We'll go to Carlos Silva.
Henry, I guess I'll just ask the obvious question here. I guess what was the conversation like when you did find out you were the starting quarterback, and is it just a culmination of all the work you've put in and kind of, I guess, going back to the recruiting process about knowing that you could earn your spot?
Yeah, it was a good conversation. I talked with Coach Yost first, who had obviously already talked to Coach Wells, and talking about going back to the recruiting process. When back in 2017, when Coach Wells recruited me, he told me that he thought that I'll be able to play for him one day. And I think overall it was a great conversation. There was nothing negative towards Allen at all. Allen's a great quarterback, and I mean, it's just kind of how it's going right now. And, I'm just really blessed to be in this position.
I know you and Allen have talked about being competitors on the field. I guess what was that conversation like with him in terms of obviously knowing that you're going to get that spot, he's going to kind of be that guy that's kind of
Yeah, me and Alan, we kind of feed off each other's energy during practice and during the game. When I'm on the sideline during the game, I'm telling him what I see, and when I'm in the game, he's telling me what he sees. We've developed a pretty good relationship since the time I've been here, and I'm lucky to have him in my corner.
Go to Eric Kelly.
And I assume you probably have the same mindset anytime you come into a game, much like, a starting pitcher versus a guy who comes in the seventh inning. Is there a different feel when you come in at the beginning of the game, 0-0, whole thing ahead of you, versus maybe when you come in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, football is football, but I think when you're coming into a later situation, you don't really have a feel for the game yet. You don't really, obviously you watch film, you know what they're doing, but it's different when you're out there, you pick up on tendencies and stuff like that. So I think there's a difference coming in the beginning and coming in towards the end of the game.
And then what have you kind of seen, if anything, from that West Virginia defense so far? Obviously, the first one you're going to go up against as a start.
Yeah, West Virginia they have a really good defense. I think they're I saw in our scouting report that they're one of the top defenses in the nation right now. They do a lot with their coverages. They move people around. They have a really good and experienced D-line. I think their nose tackle's a very good player. Number one's a very good player. They have a really talented defense.
Go through.
And then for you, how do you not let, when you come off the bench and the game has been decided, maybe like in Iowa State, versus coming in as the starter, maybe there's a little bit more pressure. How do you not let that affect the way you play?
Yeah, I think anytime you come to a game, you're just going out there to have fun. It's something you've been doing your whole life, and it's not really looking at the scores. It's just trying to put a drive together, trying to put your team on getting in the end zone, and I think it's really just having fun out there with your guys.
Go to Shihan.
Okay, so when you decided to enter the transfer portal, what really kind of made you decide that Texas Tech was the right place, and what familiarity also did you have with the staff? Obviously, having worked with them a little before.
Yeah, Texas Tech, it definitely stood out to me, obviously, because of the coaching staff that originally recruited me. I was super far from home in Utah, and I wanted to move closer to home so my parents would be able to come to the games. And, I just felt like Texas Tech was the best fit for me. I'm really big on family orientation. My parents are very important to me, and I felt like this staff kind of did the best job with me, bringing me in and making me feel comfortable.
Obviously, when you came in, you kind of assumed that there was an incumbent starting quarterback. What's kind of the mindset that you come in with, knowing that you're potentially coming in to be a backup, and obviously, what do you think you kind of showed to win that starting job?
Yeah, I think anywhere, when I was at Utah State, high school, just growing up, Texas Tech, I think you're always in a position that you're competing. I don't think it's really ever looking at, who's in front of you. There's going to be great quarterbacks everywhere. This roster that we have here at Tech is loaded with great quarterbacks. And I think just being able to push each other every day, we're getting each other better. And, I just think being able to compete, it's the best part.
Go to Ryan King.
Hey, Henry, one of West Virginia's biggest strengths on their defense is getting to the quarterback, getting those pressures, getting those sacks. What is it about this offense that it's such a strength to be able to? You guys have the least amount of sacks. How in what way? What are your strengths that kind of can negate that strength of West Virginia's defense?
Yeah, I think West Virginia has a really talented defensive line. They go after the quarterback a lot, but I think just getting the ball out of your hand fast, whether it's getting on the perimeter, getting it downfield, and getting outside the pocket, being able to run around a little bit. I think that's going to be two things that'll be going against each other the whole time.
How does that help with they have one of the best passing defense in the conference as well? How much is that being able to get pressure on the quarterback? They know they can be a little more aggressive. How does that help you guys being able to maybe get it out a little quicker? Do those feed off one another? If you can avoid the sacks, also will that help in the passing game itself, or do you see those as two different things, or do they kind of feed off each other?
No, yeah, defense. The secondary plays off of the defensive line. The defensive line gets to the quarterback, then secondary, it kind of takes pressure off of them. But I think just trusting our coaching, our game plan, and we'll be able to attack some areas and hopefully just get it rolling.
Go to Phil Mayer.
Yeah, Henry, what was the last game you started at quarterback before this one?
I didn't start any games at Utah State.
So it was high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously a long time. I'm sure you're excited. Can you tell us sort of about
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a really emotional week for me and my family. It's been something that I've been strong in my faith about, and I'm pretty blessed to be here. I don't have any. It's just one of those emotional moments that it's just kind of behind the scenes, but you just kind of keep your head on straight and just keep working.
Go.
Yeah, and then what's sort of like the difference in preparation going into, in terms of what you have to do during the week going in as a starter as opposed to a backup?
Oh well, since I've been backing up Jordan Love, I kind of had the same mentality coming over here. It's always to prepare as you're going to be the starter, because you never know what's going to happen. Coach Wells always said that you're one play away. Anything could happen, and I just think that I've developed a pretty strong game plan over the years, being able to come in as a backup quarterback.
Go to Don Williams.
Yes, Henry, I was curious. In your experience in organized football, have you ever played a position other than quarterback, or were you a kid who was quarterback all the way up?
Yeah, I actually played a few positions. So my dad actually played defensive back. So I started off. I played quarterback, but I was also a corner. And then over time, I just kind of got a little bit too tall. So they were like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to shut it down." So I just stuck to quarterback after that.
When did you have your growth spurt, or when did you get your height?
It was about sophomore year going into my junior year. It was probably the biggest summer for me that I grew.
I see. So you went from about what height to what height?
It was probably somewhere about I'd say 5'8" to around 6'1", something like that.
Yeah. So before that time, you were kind of playing both ways, quarterback and cornerback?
Yeah, I was playing both ways.
And were you born and raised in Florida? How long did you live in Hollywood, Florida?
Yes, I was born and raised in Florida. I've never lived anywhere else until I got to Utah.
Yeah. So what was it about either the program at Utah State or the coaches that convinced you to go that far from home originally when you were 18?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a big person on family, and Coach Wells and his staff, they came all the way down to Florida. They visited both my parents' houses, and they kind of really made me feel like home, that they would take care of me on and off the field, which is very important to me. And I just really fell in love with the family environment and atmosphere.
Go to Jarrett Johnson.
Hey, Henry, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Hey, there's been a lot said about this coaching staff recruiting you twice, but you also chose them twice, and then specifically Coach Yost and his offense. What do you like about his offense that has made you choose to play for him twice?
Yeah, Coach Yost, he's a very good quarterback coach. He's coached a number of great quarterbacks over the years, and his offense is one that I've run for as long as I've been in college, and it's one that I'm comfortable with and one that I understand. And that was another big thing for me, going to a place that I understood the offense. I knew what their goals were and what they wanted to get done.
We'll go back to Eric Kelly.
And saw you got to go back down to Florida and see your dad. How important was that for you before maybe one of the biggest weekends of your life? And what's a piece of advice he gave you about how to handle the moment?
Yeah, I just wanted to take the opportunity to go and see my parents for the weekend. Obviously during football time, I see them during games, but it's nothing like being at home and getting to see your parents. And I guess one thing that he told me, it's just going out and playing ball. It's something that we've been doing for not 21 years, but a long time. And it's not really letting the moment get to you. Just going out and doing what you do.
Go back to Sheehan.
Was there anything in particular that you kind of learned backing up Jordan Love? Obviously, he developed into a first-round quarterback. Is there any aspects of his game or anything that he kind of told you that really stuck with you?
Yeah, I learned a lot from Jordan over the years. We're really good friends, and I guess one of the main things I took from him is just that there's different ways to lead. It's not always the one yelling at guys, being vocal, but it's understanding your teammates, getting them better and things like that.
So obviously, you've been able to come in and provide a spark off the bench in these last two games. What sort of difference, just mindset-wise and preparation-wise, to not just kind of be a spark off the bench, but have to, drive in and drive out, have to, provide
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's just, trying to be that spark on offense. I think it's just trying to run the offense, what we do every day at practice. It's something that we work on since as long as I've been here, as long as I've been with this staff, really. So I don't think it's really focusing on that one big play. It's just trying to put plays together.
All right. Unless we have anything else for Henry, we'll let him go. 1 second. I see Don, I think, about to raise his hand.
I got one more, Matt.
Yeah, Don. We'll go to Don.
Hey, where was your dad's team playing the other night, Henry? Were they at home or they have a road game?
No, my dad coaches at American Heritage Delray, so they were at home.
At home?
Yes.
And you said your family obviously is really close. What was it like growing up as a coach's son for you?
Yeah, growing up as a coach's son, it had a ton of advantages. My dad, he's been there with me since the beginning. He's really what made me into a football player. There were times where I wanted to quit, and he kind of just kept pushing me through it. And, just always having him there on the sideline growing up, as long as I can remember, all the way through my senior year is very important to me. And I'm lucky to have him in my life.
Who, besides Coach Yost, who would you say has been your biggest key in learning to play the quarterback position?
Coach Wells, he played the position at Utah State, and, he always had tips and things like that. Even when we're out at practice, he's standing behind us, giving us little reminders and things like that.
All right, that'll do it for Henry. Thank y'all. We'll have the coordinators here in about 1 o'clock if you want to log back in. Thank y'all. Good job, dude.
Yes, sir.
All right, we got about a 10-minute break till we put you on. So what you're going to do next, we're going to just do it on the laptop.
Okay.
You're going to talk to the TV crew for Saturday. So they're going to just ask you, and it's